Why, hello. Welcome to the Costume Kid Halloween Special! I'm your host, Count Davula. And boy, have we got a show planned for you today. I'm sorry. I can't keep that up the entire video. So, regular Dave, you can take it away. Alright, so the first prop we're going to be making for this Halloween special is a DIY pumpkin. Or maybe a pumpkin head if things go alright here. So, let's get started. Starting off, the way I'm going to be making this is pretty much the same way I make a lot of different things, and that is of course out of EVA foam. This is some floor mat foam, you may have seen it before, but it's actually really great for making different props and costume pieces with it because you can curve it, you can bend it, cut it. Let's see, I've got this Black Panther helmet, that's made out of the same basic stuff, bits of the Ant-Man and the Boba Fett, all kinds of stuff. You can watch some of my past videos and yeah. But when you're making anything with this material, the first step should always be making a pattern so that you know how to build whatever you're making. However, with a pumpkin, it's open to a little more interpretation because no two pumpkins are the same. They come in all different shapes and sizes, so if you have your own unique shape that you want to pattern off of to make this pumpkin, by all means do that. You could also take a real pumpkin and just pattern off of that to make yours, and that's probably what I would have done, best case scenario, but in that case you'd have to have a real pumpkin already that you would then use to make a replica pumpkin, and that just seems like cheating, so we're gonna use something else. Now, I know pumpkins are not perfect spheres, but that's what I'm going to use because it's something all people have. If you want to take a ball or some kind of sphere, a globe, whatever you want. Most people have a basketball that you could use. Now this is about the size of, a mid-range pumpkin, and it'll be good to pattern off of. And then maybe if we're still looking to turn this into a helmet, it's about the size of my head, so we'll see. Now, if you've never patterned something before, we are going to be using the Evil Ted method that a lot of people use, and that is first wrapping your said object in aluminum foil and then covering it with duct tape. Once you cut that out, you should have a pretty basic, good pattern that you can use to transfer onto foam. As expected, the next step is to take those patterns and transfer them onto the foam floor mats. So basically, you just lay them down and use a Sharpie to draw out the lines. And then you cut them out, and now you're about ready to glue them together. So for the glue, you could use whatever you have, but my personal favorite is this Barge contact cement. It's super strong, but it's also some pretty gnarly stuff if you've never worked with it before. The basic way it does is you spread it on both surfaces. Now let them dry for a few minutes and get tacky. Then you can stick them together and they bond on contact. I did this for the whole pumpkin. Okay, so this thing's pretty much all built now. It did end up being bigger than I thought it would be. I used more foam and had to end up switching to a different type I had. But that's okay. It's pretty cool, and it needs to be trimmed up now at the sides because I feel it's too long. It looks too much like a football, and yeah. So I trimmed up the edges to give it a more rounded shape, and then I had the genius last minute idea of putting a hat inside it so it'll sit on your head better. I just cut up an old plastic one and glued it in there. But it still needed a circle of foam to be the top of the pumpkin there, so I just cut one and tried to glue it on carefully. But a tip here is when you want to get a curve like this, it has to have a dome shape out of this flat piece of foam. The tip is heat. Now, if you have a heat gun or maybe like a hot hair dryer or something, this EVA foam is really awesome because when you heat it up, it actually becomes quite malleable and you can bend it and curve it and get some pretty awesome shapes like that. Alright, now that this thing's got a top on it and looking super awesome, we're ready to finish this up. And to do that, we need to draw a little funny face on the front and cut it out. Alright, this thing looks really, really awesome. You know what it's time to do? Paint it orange. Here we go. While the paint was drying, I glued a couple pieces of leftover foam together to make the little nub on top. Then I also thought it'd be a cool idea to paint the inside edges of those carvings yellow, and it turned out pretty cool. Alright, this awesome foam pumpkin is looking pretty awesome right now. I'm fairly pleased with the outcome here. Not gonna lie to you, there was a phase in the middle there where I wasn't sure how well this would turn out, but it came together. Once you got the orange paint on there and the carvings into the front, it really makes it look like a pretty cool little jack-o'-lantern. And possibly the best part is it's wearable as a helmet. I'm not going to put it on for you guys right now because this yellow paint is still a little bit wet, but you'll see it at the end of the video. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to be making are some fake legs. And you're like, what? Fake legs? What are you talking about, Dave? Well, let me give you a little rundown here. I've seen some videos online and stuff of people making all kinds of different fake body parts, maybe like a hand or something, and to do that, they cast it in silicone to make a mold, and then they have a perfectly awesome replica hand. It looks really, really great. But I was wondering, what if you wanted to do something bigger, such as your full body? Now, you could just take some clothes and stuff them with pillows or something, and that would look pretty cool, but I have a slightly different method that I think will turn out great. Now, this is not entirely my original idea. I have a neighbor who's a local Halloween fanatic. He made some legs like this, and I was really interested to, replicate them on the show to show you guys. So, let's get started. Alright, so to make these fake legs, I'm starting out with a pair of old jeans. Now, you could get these at a thrift store or something, but why would you? You just need any type of pants, so if you have some old ones that maybe don't fit you anymore, borrow them from a sibling or something, that's great. These are my old jeans, and now they're going to be permanently altered into these fake legs. In addition to that, you're going to want some old shoes. Any old shoes will work. You can put together an outfit if you want some pants and some shoes that, look pretty cool, or just, whatever, generic. It'll all work. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, yeah, that's all great, but what are you gonna fill them with? So, of course, I have some expanding foam. Now, I've never used this stuff before, but it should work pretty well to make our fake legs, or rather, a fake lower half of the body, I guess, because it's going from about waist level down to the shoes. So, yeah, fake lower half of the body. Let's do this. Now, because I didn't want to fill up the entirety of the legs with expanding foam, I first glued in a couple of pieces of some pipe insulation in there, so that it'll have some structure in this, and then I can add the foam around it. And with that, we're ready to start spraying. So just go slow with this. I sprayed it all in there, and then I tried to, shake it around to make sure a lot of it falls down into the leg area there. And then I can also add some scrap EVA foam or anything you got, just to kind of fill up some more room in there that you can add more expanding foam on top of, and give it a cool texture on the top. Alright, all done filling up the insides of my good old legs right over here. These are pretty cool now. They actually work. They might not stand up 100% all the time, but you can lean them up against a wall, or you could just have them laying down on the ground, whatever you want to do. But what I want to draw your attention to now is the top of these legs. So as my camera focuses there, you'll see it's got this really cool texture that I did with the foam. Just, spraying it, trying to make it look like, I don't know, some, insides, guts and stuff that would be, at the waist here. And now all that's left to do is paint it. So you could use whatever kind of paint you want. I'm going to be personally using some red spray paint right here. Just, getting it off. It drips down, just look like blood or something. You can use maybe some fleshy colors or some, blood or whatever you want to do. You don't know what happened to this guy. Maybe he was chopped in half, or was he burned, or I don't know, was he halfway through the Thanos snap? You don't know what's going on, okay? So let's get to painting. Alright, and that is it for these awesome legs I got here. You didn't know you wanted to make legs until today. After watching this video now, you know you gotta make these. You're for Halloween, everyone's favorite prop. The half a body with some really actually quite gory intestines on the inside made by that expanding foam. I'm very happy with how these turned out, and I'm ready to move on to some new stuff. Well, alright guys, so now that we've done enough just kind of basic Halloween type things, let's dive into some specific movie props. Alright, first up, I'm going to be making what is quite possibly one of the most iconic Halloween masks of all time, and that is Jason's mask from Friday the 13th. I bet you never would have guessed I'm making it out of more EVA foam. Oh yeah. So I started by taking just a floor mat sheet of EVA foam and drawing kind of a circle, well, oval type shape onto it. I hit it with a heat gun there a little bit to try to give it a little more curve and flexibility in the shape there. Then I drew some eyes onto it, you know, where mine would go, and cut it out, and you've got yourself a basic hockey mask there. Alright. Not looking half bad here. Starting to get a little recognizable. But the next and probably most iconic part of this whole mask is the bunch of holes all around it. Now I'm going to be doing that the basic and most simple way you can think of, and that is using a drill and just, you know, making a bunch of holes. Now drilling into this floor mat foam, I don't really know how it's gonna work out. Hopefully I can just go like halfway through and it won't look super terrible and rip up all the foam, but we'll give it a shot here. First, I had to look at the picture and just mark where all the dots are with a Sharpie, and then I was ready to bust out the drill. Safety first. Oh, wait. Okay guys, so it's pretty difficult to go like halfway through and still make it look good. So I think in the end I am gonna go all the way through the foam and then somehow put something behind it or something. I'm still working this out, but I'm gonna go all the way through foam. I think that should make it look nicer. I think that worked much better. It's definitely looking like Jason now, and I think we're good to continue. Now I ended up throwing some black fabric behind the holes just to kind of cover them up, and this is actually some breathable kind of mesh fabric, so you'll still be able to breathe through the holes when you're wearing the mask. Alright, the next thing to do to this mask is paint it. So this mask is white, at least for our base coat, we're going to need that. Now, you could just use regular white spray paint. Instead, I'm going to coat it with Plasti Dip first. Now what this is, it's more of a vinylized kind of rubber spray that will both seal and protect the foam and will remain flexible after it dries so it won't crack off. After a few coats of white are applied, I masked off and painted just those little red triangles that are on the mask too. Okay, so this thing is looking pretty good, but it's also just a basic hockey mask right now. And Jason's is a little bit different, so it's time to weather the heck out of this thing. So my basic method for weathering this mask was to water down some black and some brown paint there and just kind of wash it over the mask, adding more water where it gets too built up with brown, or maybe some paper towel to dab it off a little there. And even after just a few coats here, it's starting to give a little more depth and, you know, cool look to this mask. The last step for this was just to turn it from a flat circle of foam into an actual wearable mask, and to do this I just used some spare elastic I had lying around, glued it going around the head, and also added one more on the top. Now as for this Jason hockey mask, other than adding these little silver pins, this thing is done, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. Now moving on to our last prop. Okay, so now we're going to be making a equally famous Halloween prop, and that is Freddy Krueger's iconic glove from The Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm going to be starting with pretty much what you'd always want to start with, what they used in the movie, a regular old leather glove. this is gonna work very nicely. Now we're just gonna add, all the metal cladding and the knives onto this. Should be good to go. Now the way I'm going to be doing that is with, you guessed it, more foam. Every single prop I make in this video has to use foam. Foam is an amazing building tool. Always use it. However, first I'd feel a little bit safer making some patterns for each of the finger pieces before we make them straight out of foam. So I'm gonna start with some paper. Let's do this. So I just started drawing out on the paper what the different metal or foam pieces are pretty much going to look like. Now this was a lot of trial and error, so just be patient, keep cutting things out and trying them on the glove so you make sure everything fits properly. Something I want to draw your attention to is a little bit interesting, and that was jointing the finger cladding there, because they have to bend with the glove as you move your finger around. So the way I achieved this was I took a tip from DIY Prop Shop's video where Vinny made one of these gloves and actually used some brads, which are like cheap little paper fasteners. That way they can actually bend like this, and it looks really awesome. After all the paper patterns were done, I just traced them and cut them out of some foam here. Now, this is some thin, like 2mm craft foam that I used for all the different metal pieces and even the knives there, so they won't be, super stiff and able to poke somebody. Alright, with all these pieces just taped into place right now, this is looking really, really awesome. Very accurate right now, but the next step is to paint them, and to do that, I'm using this kind of a bronze-ish color spray paint to get most of all the, metal cladding pieces, and then the blades themselves are going to be something like a silver. Okay guys, so the next thing we're going to be doing is just a little bit of extra work on this glove here. Now the first step is some painting, not a whole lot, just a little bit of weathering here and there and some stuff. But the first step with painting is I'm going to be using a little bit of yellow here and just kind of hitting it very, very lightly with some yellow to give it a little bit more of that look, because the screen used glove is a little bit more yellow than the glove I could find. But I wanted to show you that you can make do with what you have at home or can get easily and readily available. Just gonna modify it a little bit. After that, I am going to weather it just a little bit more with some black and brown, kind of dry brushed or maybe watered down, something like I just did on the Jason mask not too long ago there. So yeah, let's do this. I also took some scissors and just kind of ripped some holes in through the glove, kind of roughed it up a little bit, and then we're ready to glue on these foam pieces. So I just used some hot glue, and as long as it doesn't seep through your glove, you can glue them on in the right spot while you're wearing the glove, and it's turned out pretty good. And just like that, this awesome Freddy Krueger glove is completed. I am very happy with how this thing turned out. It's pretty menacing, very accurate to the movie, and don't worry, these knives here are just foam, so it's both con-friendly and you're never gonna actually scratch yourself in the face. So that's very good. And with that, I guess it's pretty much the end of the video here. So I'm not going to be making any more props. I hope you enjoyed seeing how to make those 4 so far. But if you're wondering why didn't I make, something else from this Halloween or horror movie or something, well, there's a couple different reasons to that, such as the Evil Dead chainsaw. That's something I really wanted to make. I was planning on doing it, but there's already a couple of good videos out there. One is from DIY Prop Shop. Odin made an awesome one of those. You guys know Odin. You love Odin. Go check out Odin's video. And there's also an Indie Mogul video that went about it in a different way. So if you want to make one of those, I got you covered. But that's all for me here today. Make sure to leave a like and comment down below, as well as share this video with your friends. And of course, subscribe to this channel for new videos. And I'll see you next time here on The Costume Kid. Hopefully not Halloween special. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching all the way through the video. I want to give a quick shout out here to Mr. Creepy. He set up this awesome display of Halloween decorations that he made himself, and he was nice enough to let me film here, so go check him out, link down below.